Greetings, friends. My name is Anastasia. I'm the owner and product developer at Carp Catchers. Winter is the time when we release most of the new products we've planned for the upcoming season. So, the next one is an expansion of the Wafters range, which has just been released. These are wafters in the shape of a snail. And let me say right away, this is not a mini bait, so keep watching. I'll be telling you all the details specifically about this shape. Overall, all these baits of unusual and distinctive shapes have been trending in Europe for some time now, with many various manufacturers producing them. For us, this trend started not so long ago. Still, carp anglers are already familiar with the idea that a boilie doesn't have to be just dumbbell-shaped or round, but can also come in various other interesting shapes that can be used just as effectively and intriguingly in different situations. There really can be situations where such an unusual and distinctive shape will work, simply because of its remarkable uniqueness. And these unusual, unexpected shapes come in different forms, closely imitating natural food found in a carp's environment. And here it is, this is one of them, the snail shell. So, the snail shell wafter has this kind of unique, triangular, almost natural shape, which really stands out. The snail shell wafter we are looking at today is not a small hook bait. This one is 15 millimeters long, and the width here at the base of the hook bait is around 12 millimeters. Let's take a look at the flavors presented in the range. I'll go through them quickly. The flavors replicate our new wafter range. There are 3 delicious new flavors available here right now, as well as others you might recognize from our pop-ups. Let's take a look at them. Let's start with the new ones. Savory crab is a delicious black wafter that is shaped like a snail. It is the spicy crab. Honey tiger nut is sweet, very tasty, and highly appealing, presented in a beautiful, natural yellow color. A wafter, which is also featured in this lineup, comes with the delightful scent of honey and the unique aroma of tiger nut. Wafter Fruity Cream is a truly delicious fruity cream. It's cream with fruits. In fact, it has a light orange color, which comes from our special tone line, a different shade of fluorescent orange. And the scent is fruits with cream. Fruits are at the forefront with cream in the background. Classic flavors that you might know if you use our pop-ups feature the distinctively tangy sour pear in the classic fluorescent orange color. That's a krill wafter in a washed-out pink color. This is pineapple N-butyric, which is pineapple combined with butyric acid, resulting in the classic bright fluorescent yellow color. And spicy tuna, which is tuna mixed with spices, giving it the classic vibrant fluorescent pink color. In total, we have 7 flavors. The range includes the most effective color options. There are 2 types of pink, washed out and bright fluorescent, 2 shades of orange, a classic fluorescent orange, and a lighter shade of the same color. Then there are also 2 types of yellow, classic fluorescent yellow and a more natural, darker, warmer shade of this color. All our wafters are made using a single, unique base mix. This is a special mix specifically for wafters that we developed ourselves, and it is significantly different from the pop-up mix. It has much less buoyancy compared to the pop-up mix, but it still retains some lifting power. Therefore, the smaller the diameter of the wafter, the less buoyancy and lifting power it has overall. But the larger it is, the greater its lifting power becomes. And this principle applies directly to these snails here, which have a diameter, as I mentioned earlier, of 15 by 12 millimeters. So as you can see, this is quite a large bait, and so it has, even for a wafter, it has a noticeably strong and pronounced lifting power, which is quite remarkable. So let's now take a closer and more detailed look at the buoyancy characteristics of these wafters when they are paired with hooks. Since the bait itself is quite large in size, I chose not to use any of the smaller hooks for this particular demonstration. For our demonstration today, we are only using size 6 and size 4 hooks, both of which are shown on a clean hair rig as well as on a screw. And now, in the aquarium, you can already see the rigs with our wafters. Here we have several varieties, with different flavors and different colors, and with hooks number 6 and number 4. But you see that the presentation of the bait is different. Some hooks are standing on the point, while others are lying down. That's because different rigs are being used here. The rig option where the hook is lying down flat on the bottom is the one where a bait screw is used to attach the hook bait. This bait screw has its own weight, which makes our rather large wafter heavier. And that's why you can easily balance it for the presentation you need by using the bait screw. A presentation where the hook lies on the bottom and the wafter floats. And the next presentation option is when the hook stands upright, resting on the point, which is just a classic presentation on the point. With a wafter of this diameter, you can do this with either a size 6 or a size 4 hook, depending on your preference. But with the size 6 hook, we actually get a very light and subtle presentation. It's acting almost like a pop-up, really. But the size 4 hook is already quite heavy. Unfortunately, it doesn't stand upright, it's a bit tilted, because even for such a large wafter, it's already a bit too heavy to provide this kind of presentation. So considering the diameter of this bait, it is large. You might say that the buoyancy is too high, but actually, this wafter is larger in volume than a 14mm pop-up. If we had a 14mm pop-up here, the one we produce, it would lift absolutely all of these hooks, even with the hook links. So the buoyancy of this bait is much lower. It is lower than the buoyancy of a pop-up, significantly lower, but it is still present. And you could produce them that way so that the buoyancy is very, very low, but then there is a risk to the stability of that buoyancy. Right now, in this version. What you see now, these wafters were placed in the aquarium 2 hours ago, when I was preparing here, for the review and everything. So, after 2 hours, nothing really changed. You may confidently cast the wafter on the hair or on the screw for the entire night, or leave the rod without recasting for a long time, and be sure that the presentation remains intact. Because the buoyancy itself, as you might expect, the overall stability of the buoyancy of these wafters is almost exactly the same as what you would find in pop-ups. It's very stable. But to ensure this stable buoyancy, it needs to have its own lifting force. And due to the fact that the diameter of the bait is large, this lifting force is already noticeable at this diameter, the lifting force of this wafter mix. Using these wafters, you can fish with a hook on the point presentation, or placing the hook on the bottom so that only the wafter floats while the hook lies flat. How you choose to fish is up to you. You can fish with it on the hook point, or you can fish this way as well. But overall, it was designed specifically for fishing with a presentation where the hook lies flat to target actively feeding carp. So, to repeat and make it absolutely clear, what do we recommend? We strongly recommend using these particular baits together with bait screws, so that you achieve a neutral presentation with a size 6 hook. Now, let's take a slightly more detailed look at one of the rigs you saw in the aquarium. This is a rig where a bait screw is used to attach the hook bait. This is the screw. Here we have a screw with a ring. The snail shell wafter is carefully put directly onto the bait screw. It's very simple. Let's take this fruity cream one, for example. We carefully screw the wafter onto the screw, making sure to go right through the very middle of the wafter. Then we insert the screw and simply push it on all the way until it is securely in place. And we get the same rig that you just saw in the aquarium. In other words, this is actually the rig that essentially provides a truly neutral presentation of the wafter. The hook lies flat while the wafter is elevated. Here, for example, we have a size 6 hook, and I can see that size 6 and size 4 hooks are the ideal hooks for fishing with these baits. Size 6 is for normal conditions, and size 4 is for when you're fishing in tougher conditions, like snags, where you need to force the fish more and reduce the chances of losing it. Then you use a bigger hook. This is a hook for all-round fishing situations which many anglers experience most of the time. This is a wide gape hook, universal one. Another option is when you want to fish with this wafter, presenting it so that the hook stands upright, on its point. Then, for this rather large bait, we can also use a size 6 hook. This wafter has enough buoyancy to lift and hold up this size 6 hook on the point. Everything here is classic, just like with all standard rigs. And here, too, a classic hair rig is used. This way, the bait has a good degree of mobility and isn't too rigid, which ensures proper and effective mechanics of the rig. That is, the rig is just like if it is made for a pop-up fishing. Basically, everything is exactly as it would be for fishing with a pop-up to present the hook on the point, because here we're creating exactly that kind of presentation. So if we go ahead and make a hair rig and also set up a standard configuration, then the snail shell will turn a size 6 hook on the point, and it has enough buoyancy for that. Some people might like this, while others might not, but that's the property of this particular bait. It naturally behaves in that specific way. It will set this hook right on the point. But if we don't want to present our hook on the point, then we use a screw, which the wafter is currently securely mounted on, and we get a presentation where the bait gently floats while the hook lies completely on the bottom. This approach ensures a natural and effective setup. Also here, if we're fishing with a hair rig, I just wanted to take a closer look to talk in detail about the features of this bait's shape, which actually forces us to use very, very exceptionally delicate little bait stoppers. Because here there's a cone, it's like a snail shell, which gradually tapers from a base that's 12 millimeters in diameter. Along its entire length, the bait gradually and smoothly tapers all the way up to the very top. And this top part is actually very, very small indeed. On this tiny, narrow top section, a standard stopper simply just won't fit properly. In this situation, we have to use mini stoppers. Here are Guru mini bait stops. At least, I think that's what they're called. They basically fit more or less as intended, but even they do tend to stick out just a little bit beyond the edges of the bait, though it's not really critical, so you can still use them. But overall, when considering this particular feature, I genuinely think it really is more convenient and practical to use this screw, since we do not need to use any stoppers at all, which makes the process much simpler. So it's just more convenient, it works. Well, but if we're fishing hook on the point, making a hair rig, making a standard setup, then keep in mind that this part here is very small. This tip is quite tiny, and you'll need some delicate stoppers, or you can carefully trim down larger plastic stoppers. I hope that with this review, I was able to answer any questions you might have had that may have come up about our new Fluoro Snail Shell Wafters. If you still have any questions, you can always feel free to ask them in the comments below. I wish you a wonderful and enjoyable fishing season and hope you catch the fish of your dreams with our new hook baits. Best of luck and see you next time. Thank you for watching.